Life's tough
when you're in PC.
Life's rough
When you depend on me.
to give you
weapons,
items,
armor,
information for your journey, and still you still machine and try to hurt me. Life's tough
When you're in PC.
Life's rough.
When you
Welcome back, everybody, finally to a new episode of Crit or Miss. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about superheroes. It is weird, isn't it? Sometimes even surprising, if you will, that there aren't more superhero games out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, it isn't like they're invisible. Marvel superheroes, DC superheroes. Hell, there's even a Rob Liefeld game that just looks about as swole, bloody, and grimy as you would think it would be. But for something that is so ingrained in society, for something that has taken off like a rocket with the creation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and something that we all watched and enjoyed as kids, it's really weird that there aren't more huge superhero games out there that are on par with things like D&D, Vampire, Shadowrun, and so forth. Yes, you can claim that some are bigger than others, and I'm certain that there are plenty of people out there who will be like, Marvel Superheroes is the greatest ever, and all these other things, this, that, and the other, but let's be honest here. Even for, like, the bigger ones, they're certainly not at the level of, like, D&D, Vampire, Shadowrun, like the big games, the big names out there. There's not really a big superhero one, and you would think that'd be a little weird, but I think that a reason that really happens is because superheroes are painfully unfair and unbalanced compared to each other across a wide variety of superheroes. There's plenty of superheroes out there, but whenever we compare the skill set to, let's say, Green Arrow and Hawkeye, to the skill set of, let's say, like, Superman and Thor, yeah, there's certainly some discrepancies there. From a narrative standpoint, superhero powers can vary wildly in the story that they're being told about. Even when you put them together, there might be some jokes here and there at the expense of the lesser-powered superheroes. However, the story sets it up that they are still valued members of the team. Typically speaking, though, this is incredibly hard to translate into a tabletop RPG. And in every superhero game that I have ever seen, every one, doesn't matter how fantastic the DM is, it doesn't matter how balanced you try to make it out, it doesn't matter if the person who went in playing Hawkeye knew he was playing Hawkeye, and the person going in playing Thor knew they were playing Thor. There's always the verbal sparring between the two, as the person playing Hawkeye tends to feel cheated out of their big moments. Most of the time it is because, due to the stat sheets, Thor is going to power his way through damn near everything. And while from a storytelling standpoint, you can still have, like, good things for Hawkeye, but whenever the person playing Hawkeye is seeing Thor do this, that, the other, and all these other cool stuff, and even whenever he gets his moment, it seems to be stolen by Thor's bigger thunder. Like, they're like, well, why can't I do the big thing? And it's because your stat sheet. Like, it doesn't matter which way that this kind of falls into. Whenever we talk about, like, the stats laying out on the sheets, the person playing Hawkeye always feels a little cheated by the person playing Thor. Which brings us to today's topic and game. A game that I think does a fantastic job at balancing all this out. Way more than the previous games such as Marvel Superheroes, Silver Age Sentinels, and the greasy, sticky, nasty Liefeld game. Masks a New Generation. This game is brought to us from Magpie Games, as well as Brendan Conway, and this is easily one of the best superhero games I've seen because it tackles the balance problem extremely well to ensure that everybody really feels on the same page and they all feel important to the team dynamic at large. It's really simple on how Conway fixes the whole problem, and that is simply basing his story on the concept of a group of youngsters, a group of young up-and-coming superheroes, put together in a team to fight the big bads. It tends to be that superheroes can be mainly a solo act or a solo sidekick act or one or two people at most, but it's really whenever you get into the group superhero ones, not the Avengers or the Justice League. No, but whenever you get into the groups such as X-Men, Young Justice, Teen Titans, the ones that function as a group, you get a lot more balance between what they do and how they impact the rest of the team at large. This game takes a lot of cues from the comics and TV shows such as Teen Titans, Young Justice, and X-Men, three of the best superhero television shows in the past couple of decades, easily. I haven't seen much of the Young Justice and Teen Titan television show. However, I don't need to see a lot of it to say that it has had a huge impact on culture, on people who watch it as kids growing up now, talking about them, creating stories that kind of feature them, artwork, and so forth. It very much is like the Batman the Animated Series or the X-Men of my time for this generation. And the great thing, though, is that Young Justice and Teen Titan is most certainly the balance within the teams. Everyone serves a function, and none of them are too overpowered or underpowered than the other ones. They all serve a role, and they all work together as a team to defeat various foes. Conway and Company definitely take this to heart, and that's why they have a set of roles that work a lot like classes in D&D or clans in Vampire, where the characters aren't exactly building characters off of superpowers like they have in the past, but it's very much the role that they play in the group that they're in. And so it's very much, you have the beacon, that's the heart and the soul of the team, and the protege, that is the young up-and-comer ready to take the old man's lead, similar to Robin to Batman, or the outsider of the alien coming to Earth and then serving in this unit. They all serve a very specific function. And it's really interesting to build characters off of concepts instead of building characters around the superpowers that you get and then working to create the character from that. There are 10 in all, and you can see influence in each of them, but most importantly, you can definitely get the feeling that each of them are statted and balanced to offer something to the team that doesn't take away from the rest of the group. For instance, the Beacon, the first one that's listed on there is very much like the Hawkeye role, or very much like the Arsenal role, where they're really not super powered and whatnot, they're just really good at what they do, which can be bow and arrow, guns, whatever. They're really good at what they're doing, and they're just really good humans that are very well trained. And they serve a very important role, as in, they have stats that are meant to kind of boost and, really rile up the group. They're very much like a bard in D&D, where they can certainly fight too, but they can also give a lot of bonuses to your other group. So, unlike in previous games where you have Superman next to Hawkeye, or hold on, let's change it to Green Arrow because I don't want to get my DC dip mixed with my Marvel chips. So you have Superman and Green Arrow, where they both serve different functions, but the person playing Green Arrow doesn't feel like they got fucked over because they're standing next to this person that has been statted out the wazoo with Superman. It also helps that the stats are not built on what you can and cannot do, but more on labels given to you, as well as how your character affects the plot and supports the team at large. The dice system is the 2d6 apocalypse system that's seen in games like Apocalypse World and the game lauded by me, Spirit of 77. I love the apocalypse system for being a very simplistic story-based system. Now don't get me wrong, I also love the stats-based system that you see more in D&D. But the thing is that they do two different things, and it really shows how a system can really change and affect how you perceive the games and whatnot, and how superheroes are not great for a stats-based system, but they're really good for a story-based system. So this is a really good mix of the fluff of superheroes and the crunch of the system itself that really works with the narrative you want to tell. The game is very story-focused, and it keeps the rest of the team in check so that no one person ends up with too much power. You never want a situation where you have a main character and their cavalcade of sidekicks playing the characters as well. That is a major no-no in any game. But I've talked about this for a while now, so let's get into maybe some minor pros and cons of this game, just some more talking points before we close it all out. Well, a major plus for this game is definitely that the book looks great. The artwork is fully illustrated, and the layout of the game is just amazing. Opening the book is a joy every time, and you don't feel like you're being lost in pages upon pages of Times New Roman with a few hazy black and white photographs thrown in there. There's definitely a very strong upbeat feel to it that I get every time I look at the illustrations, that I look at the artwork. I get a feel for this world, not even just by reading about it, but just by seeing it. Which is really good, because the first half of the book, before you actually get to character creation, can kind of really drag in some points as you keep reading through it. This isn't awful, but it is a bit of a nitpick. The writing of the book definitely feels padded as you read through it. Most of it is important story building stuff, which is extremely important, but then you get a lot of long-winded portions of how to play my favorite character, what to do in this scenario, what to do in that scenario. It can be a little tedious sometimes. When everything is being described and explained in such a particular fashion that sometimes it would have been better if you could just leave it to make inferences from the players that are playing the game instead of explaining verbatim every single solitary portion. Problem? Not so much. I mean, it's a minor nitpick. It's just there's certain portions of the book that you can kind of skip wholesale if you've played any sort of RPG before. So, just keep that in mind while you're reading. And also, if this is the worst thing that I can say about this book, that it feels a little padded and you can kind of skip a couple of portions if you played before, you know what? That's really indicative that this book is really, really good. This is a great game. It balances out the superhero concept, a genre that was sorely lacking in balance since the fucking 80s, and makes it intriguing and engaging at the same time. Overall, this game deserves massive ups, and it is a crime that it isn't more well-known and widely played. This game easily gets a crit. It's one of the best superhero games that I've ever seen, and I highly suggest that if you want to play a superhero RPG, you really need to pick up Mass, especially if you're a fan of Young Justice or Teen Titans. You will have a blast from start to finish. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more. And thank you all once again for those who have been still following me as I've been in a slight mini hiatus as, semesters are a bit of a problem. Thank you all so much again, and come back next week for a new episode. Thank you.